First thing I want to do is I want to go to JavaWide, and I want to show you exactly where to find information. So if you go to my site here, click on Rob Fitzgerald. You go to Greenfoot, and down here I have all kinds of stuff, and here is Corel J Robot in Greenfoot. I showed you that before. The one I added today was Corel and Greenfoot help for adding worlds. This read.txt file was actually in your original file, and it actually tells you how to add worlds. Okay, because every time you do an assignment, I'm going to have to do different worlds. So there's going to be worlds with like a harvest of beepers. There's going to be some that are stairs. Some you're going to do Corel Olympics. You're going to have hurdles to jump over, and you're going to have to create a different world every time. Okay, and in here he talks about how to create worlds, and I recreated that what he says in here in Greenfoot. Okay, so make sure you go to JavaWide for information. I'll have stuff up there if you get confused. Other than that, I'll go back to Corel. Now, if I go to StairStepper, okay, and I go ahead and put StairStepper on the grid here, it starts down to be at bottom. You notice how the world automatically created stair steps, and I go ahead and run it, and it goes up the stairs. Now that's the thing to see here, is that this world had stairs put in it automatically, and that's what I want you guys to get and learn how to do. Okay, all right, so I'll reset that, and this time I'll just put an HBot out there, and you're going to see that HBot also has stairs and shouldn't. Okay, but let's first open up StairStepper and see exactly where the code is to create the world that it's gonna use. At the very top, remember yesterday I told you guys how to create a class. You import, then you have the name of the class. The name of the class is the same name as the file, and then you have the constructor, which is the same name as the class and the file, and then you have the super, and it inherits how to construct the robot by referring to the super robot. In this case, if you look at StairStepper, it inherits how to make a robot from your robot. So it's referring to your robot. How does your robot construct a robot? We don't know. It's a black box case, which means they don't show us the code. They just give us how to construct it, the methods that it uses, okay, and some details, but they don't show us how a robot's actually created. That's how you safeguard your programs, and that's the problem with Mac and PCs. PCs let all their code be wide open. Apple does not let you get to the core of all their black box cases, so it's harder to duplicate and also put viruses on a Mac. Okay, all right, now, so the second thing they did after they created the constructor, you'll see it runs a method called populate. You know it's a method. One of the reasons why you know it's a method is because it says populate, and there's these little brackets around it. All right, that's basically making a call to a method. Now here's the order of how methods are called. First, the class will look at its own class to see if it has a populate method in it. So if you scroll down in StairSweeper, it actually has a populate class. It's right here. Okay, in this method, it actually creates a new world, and it uses a certain type of world. Well, if you look at when you first got this this package from me, Joe Bergen gave you a folder called Worlds. Okay, so I'll go to that now and show you what I have there. So I'll go to Greenfoot. This is where I put my Corel world. Okay, and if you go to the actual folder, the Worlds folder, which is underneath my scroll bar. There we go. All right, see all these worlds? These worlds are for every world for every example in the book. The current one you might be working on is 3.2, and that's called Harvester Robot. And I'll be working on that in a second for you. But if I go to 3.2, here's the world that Bergen wants you to use. And it has a harvest of beepers. Now you could either make the world by dragging, if I go back to Greenfoot, you could drag these beepers into the world and make the harvest, but that gets kind of burdensome. Okay, or you can just load it with the right world in there. All right, so I'll reset this and I'll show you how Harvest or Stair Sweeper, first of all, just asked to put in stairworld.kwl, which is in that same folder. It's in that same folder. Here's the Stair Stepper. I think it's down at the bottom. There it is, Stair World. Okay. You can see that he runs a method called world.readWorld, and the first parameter is the file or the file folder it's in, and the second one is the name of the file that's in. Okay. So all we have to do is put a populate in each one, and we can populate with the right world. All right. So the harvest world, if I want to create a harvest one, I could actually just call in my act populate. And I'd have to go ahead and create a function called populate. Okay? And now remember, in programming, be lazy, be very lazy. If there's already one coded, go ahead and copy it. Okay, and paste it into it. Okay, so I will go ahead and paste that function into it. So now my harvester robot has a populate in it, and the only problem is it's going to go in Stair World. What did I tell you what the world that it wants to do? It wants to actually figure 3.2. It wants this one right here. So if I just get that verbiage there, that's actually going to be called a string, and put it in here, I should create a harvester world. Okay, paste in there. I compile it. No errors. Sometimes it's better be lucky than good. All right, now if I go ahead and put the harvester, it should start with a harvester world. Okay, hold shift. I put the harvester in there. Now, do you notice how there's no world yet that doesn't look different? Well, the act method in harvester doesn't happen until you hit run. And when I hit run, that's when it populates. So I'll go ahead and hit run. Boom, and you see the harvest. Okay, see the harvest world? But that's really kind of clunky, isn't it, that I have to hit run to see the world? Wouldn't it be better if the world can be created before I hit run? Well, you can do that. Okay, instead of hitting populate in the act method, there can be a constructor for harvester robot. And in the constructor, we could say, when I get constructed, go ahead and populate the world. So I'm going to create a constructor now. Public, let's see, harvester. Make sure you spell it right. Okay, start with the curly brackets. This is what if I put the populate here, now when the robot gets constructed, it will run the populate method. Okay, I will take populate out of there. By the way, if I had 2 forward slashes, it comments it out. That means the computer will not look at that code. It's called comment code now. So that is not going to be read. And now when it first gets created, it's going to populate.
When do you put the semicolon when it's an action?
Yes, when it's a function or method. Good point. As you see, I misspelt this, so it came up and said it doesn't understand it. So now let me spell it right. Now there's no errors. Now let's go ahead and run this and see if it'll put it right away when I create the harvester robot. So I'll put it in here. I'll come over here. I'll put them in, and bingo, right away. It populates the world. Okay. However, I'm not done yet. Okay, because that still seems clunky to me. Okay, because now every time I create a new robot, I'm going to have to write this populate, then I'm going to have to go ahead and write a populate method. It seems clunky. It seems like, man, I want it to just happen automatically, or maybe I send the world that that robot needs to the populate method. All right, well, let's try to do something like that. So what if I created another robot, kind of like an abstract robot? He's not really a robot, but he kind of just has a method that could help other robots create a world. Okay, let me try to do that. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to click on your robot and create a subclass, new subclass, and I'm going to call this thing abstract robot. Actually, it's really just a world class, okay? In fact, the graphic I'm using is just this because I'm not ever going to actually construct it, okay? And I'm going to have it in here, And now I'm going to have my harvester robot. Instead of extending your robot, I'm going to have it extend abstract world. Okay, I should get an error here because there's no, well, actually, no, I didn't. You'll see right away that harvester robot is now under abstract world. Okay, abstract world automatically extends your robot, so I get all that stuff. But in this abstract world, I'm going to create a populate in its act method. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that code that I put in the harvester. I'm going to cut it out of here. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in abstract. And so now abstract automatically has a populate and it has the world. Okay, now remember the hierarchy I told you. First harvester is going to check to see if it has a populate in its own class. It doesn't. So it looks for it in classes it inherits. So if you go to abstract class, you'll see there is one in here, and it'll automatically go there and populate it. Okay? In fact, in harvester, since I call populate, I don't have to call it again. So in abstract world, I don't even have to put in populate because my harvester robot's going to do it for it. Okay, there's no errors. Figure 2 works. Let's go ahead and try to see if that works. Let's compile. Make sure whenever you get those lines, it means it needs to be compiled. I'll hold shift, and there it is. All right, is that okay? Because now every time I create a robot, I got to go in abstract and change this. So that's kind of clunky. I'm not done yet. There's got to be a better way to create a world and have each, put this way. Let's say you and your buddy go to McDonald's. Who's going to be responsible for ordering what they want? Each different customer, right? So the responsibility for ordering what you want is within each customer. It's on McDonald's. And so in this case, the responsibility for who wants what world should be with each robot. So how can I get each robot to request the exact world it wants? Well, that goes to our passing parameters lesson, and this is going to be something you're going to have to try to figure out because passing parameters is very big in computer science. All right, let's just say for harvester robot, instead of populate, what if I just put in here? Let's see, do I still have it? No, I don't. Let's say I put in the passing of parameters the actual world that I want. Okay. So let's say I put it into the parentheses the actual world, and I actually pass that string, and if I put it in quotes, I'm passing a string to the abstract robot, and I'm telling the abstract robot, here's my world. Populate the world with this. Okay? If you're going to send something in a parameter, you guys, it has to be caught. Okay? It has to be caught by something. All right? So right now I'm getting an error saying populate in abstract world cannot be applied to Java string because if you look at my abstract world, it's not catching anything. Populate just says there's nothing in there to catch it. So you better catch it. Create a string to catch it. Okay, so I'm going to create a variable to catch it. I could call this anything I want. I could call it pig if I want. I could call it X if I want. It's just a variable to catch that string. Now you probably want your variables to be as descriptive as you can. So I'm going to call mine my world. Okay, so if it's my world, it catches my world and it puts it in a variable. And now all I have to do is write that variable where it should be, which is right where the file is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do my world. Okay, I'm going to compile that. I'm going to go compile all the rest of the code. No errors. Now, harvester robot is responsible for telling abstract world what world to load when I get into the grid. So I come over here. I click on harvester. Boom. Okay. Harvester now gets to pick his. Now, what about HBot? HBot didn't want a world. Okay. HBot just wanted a blank world. You're going to actually create dots or beepers in his world. Okay, so I could have him also extend abstract world. Okay? And I could go also tell him to populate. But watch how I have him populate. I just say populate. This should give me an error because I don't have a populate with no parameters in it. See, there's an error. Well, how about an abstract world? What if someone has a populate with no parameters? What if I just go public, static, void, populate? Can I write two of the same functions? Yeah, you can. And you could have each one have different ones. And I'm just going to say in this one, don't have anything in there. I don't have anything in there. Compile it, no errors. Compile HBot, should be fine now. Actually, it still hates it. What did I do wrong? I thought I heard someone say that. Thank you. In abstract, right? That's bad. Sorry, guys. Just trying to be a good example. Show you that you have to troubleshoot. Okay. And now if I do that, now HBot can be created, but HBot doesn't send any parameters over to it. It actually uses the second populate, which is nothing. Okay. And now HBot can be put over here. And you see no harvester gets created. So this is the way I would do it. Okay. And this was my troubleshooting method from reading Joe Bergen's original text file that you could find on JavaWide. When he started, he's in here saying Greenfoot does worlds a little bit different than JavaWide. And so you read it and you go, well, how would I do it? What would be the best way for me to do that? I would create an abstract world that they inherit, that also inherits your robot, and that calls the robot you're creating to send the exact world in it. Okay? Here's the reason why I like JavaWide. What I just did would all be in my file, and you guys could open it and re-go over it. But since Greenfoot, we don't have like this sharing file system, you'll have to get this recording and watch it again and watch what I do. Okay? And you could also ask questions. All right? When JavaWide gets back up, like I said, I have another email into Jam Jensen. When it gets back up, we'll probably do some of these in JavaWide, and I'll have them for your exhibit. By the way, in JavaWide, you don't need to do any of this because this is only done in Greenfoot. Okay? All right, any questions before I stop this lecture? Go ahead. Okay, so today what you're going to work on is your Chapter 3 assignments. If you're not done with, the only thing I want you guys from Chapter 2 is HBot. Okay, you get HBot done in Chapter 2, you're done. Work in Chapter 3, I think the first thing they want you to do is redo HBot with encapsulation. And then they want you to do Harvester Robot, and I think there's another one. Just read at the end, there's the problems. Just start doing them, and then all of a sudden you will be able to get them. Okay, all right, you guys. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you again. Bye.